welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I'll be teaching you guys how to make this dress with ruffles on the side and puff sleeves. So let's jump right into the video. For this tutorial, I'll be using this black chiffon fabric, and I already have my half length folded into 4 on my work table. So I'm making this dress for a client. I've already gone ahead to take a measurement and I've written everything down. So I'll be using a bust, a waist and a hip measurement for this tutorial, and the dress length of course. So I have my zipper allowance of 1 inch on the back, and the front is folded on the back. So I'm going to cut everything out together at once. So the first measurement I will take is the distance from my shoulder to my bust. But before I do that, this is an off shoulder top, so I'm going to take out 5.5 inches, and my half length is 18 inches. So this client is really tall. For me, my half length is 16 inches, but she's tall, so I added 2 inches to her half length. So I'll take out 5.5 inches and I'm going to mark a bust point, which is 11 inches. And taking out the 5.5 inches out again, I'm going to take 2 inches out of the bust point to give me my chest line. So I already did that and it gave me 8 inches. I did that and I ruled a straight line across. So on the folded edge for the front, I'm going to take 7 inches, which is how wide I want the neckline to be, because I'm still going to add elastic to my sleeves. On my bust point, I'll take my bust circumference divided by 4 and I'm going to place it, and I'm going to add my stitching allowance to it. So you can do 1.5 inches stitching allowance. It depends on how much allowance you want in your dress. So I'm going to connect in a slant from my neckline to meet the armhole line. So this line right here is going to serve as my armhole for this dress. So what I'll do is to connect like this. On my half length, I'm going to take my waist circumference divided by 4, and I'll also add my stitching allowance. Once I'm going to connect from the bust line to meet the waistline. On my neckline, I don't just want the neckline to be straight as it is now, so I'll go down by 1 inch and I'm going to connect in a slant like this to meet my shoulder line. But if you don't want this, you can leave your neckline the way it is. It's totally fine. And I'll go ahead and cut out what I have here. So we are done with the upper part of this dress. I'll remove my pin and I'm going to take my dart. So I'll take my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 and I'm going to mark. And what I'll do next is to take in half an inch on both sides. And I'll go ahead and notch the middle point so that I'll know where to take in my dart by the time I am sewing. So what I'll do is to open up my front and my back piece, as you can see. So if you want, you can cut out a facing to turn the neckline, but for me, I'm going to use my bias tape to pipe my neckline for the front and for the back, and I'll also go ahead and take in my dart. So this is my skirt part, the skirt part of this dress. I've already folded it the same way that I folded my half length, and I also added my zipper allowance to the back. So this fabric right here is folded into 4, and before I forget, the length of my full dress is 60 inches. So I'll go ahead and start placing my measurements. So the first measurement I'll take is the distance from my waist to my hip, which is 10 inches. So I'm going to place my tape on the waistline and I'll take 10 inches. I'll rule a straight line across. So the next thing I'll do on the waistline, which is the beginning of this fabric, I'm going to take my waist circumference divided by 4. So make sure that the waist measurement you have here is going to match with the waist measurement you have on your half length. I'll mark that, and on the hip line I'll also take my hip circumference divided by 4 and I'll also mark it. Like I said, I have the measurements written down plus the seam allowance, so I'm just going to place that here and I'll bring out my ruler. I'll connect from my waist to meet the mark on the hip. So as you can see on the thumbnail, the skirt part of this dress is not too tight, so I'm going to continue taking my hip measurements like this till I reach the end of the skirt. But if you don't want your skirt part to be too free, you can reduce 1 inch or 2 inch from what you have on your hip measurements, and then you place it to the end of your skirt and then you cut out. It's going to give you a pencil effect on the down part of the dress. So after doing that, I'm just going to connect my points into a straight line and then I'll cut. The next thing I'll do is to adjust my zipper area. So the wideness of my zipper allowance is 1 inch. I'll cut out the excess and I'm going to open this up for you guys to see. So this fabric is a little bit stretchy, so I'm not going to add that to the skirt part of this dress. So this is my half length. I've already piped my neckline and I've taken in my dart. I did the same thing for the 2 back piece that we have. So the next thing I'm going to do is to join the skirt part to the half length. So I'm going to place my half length on the skirt part, right sides facing each other. You can see that my waist measurement is the same, so I'll go ahead and pin and I'll use my seam allowance to sew. I'll repeat the same thing for the 2 back skirt parts and the 2 back half length, and after sewing I'll go ahead and sew in my zip for the back. I've gone ahead to sew my zip in place, and this is what I have, and this is my slit. So the next thing I will do is to cut out my sleeves. So this is the fabric for the sleeves. The length of the fabric is 15 inches and the wideness of this fabric is 39 inches. So I have 39 inches for one sleeves and I have another 39 inches for another sleeves. So what I'll do is to fold in 1 inch on both ends of the sleeve. I've gone ahead to do that, and this is going to serve as a casing to pass our elastic band through. But before passing our elastic band through, I'm going to trim out the armhole area on this part. So I've already folded the sleeves into 2 equal halves. So what I'll do is to bring out the front piece for this dress. I'm going to place the armhole area on the end of this particular fabric. Remember, the fabric is folded into 2, so I'll go ahead and trim out the armhole so that by the time I'm joining, the armhole area is going to match perfectly. So after doing that, I'll use this particular one to cut out the armhole area for the other sleeves, and I'll go ahead and cut out my elastic band. So these are the elastic bands I'll be using. The one on the down part of the sleeves is 10 inches, and that's because I measured around sleeves and it gave me 10 inches. The one on the upper part of the sleeves is 7 inches, which is half of a shoulder measurement. So that is what I'm going to use, 10 inches for the down and 7 inches for the upper part of the sleeves. So I'll go ahead and use my safety pin to pass my elastic band through the casing. I'll do the same thing for both sleeves. So I've gone ahead to do that, and this is what we have for both sleeves. The next thing I'll do is to join the sleeves to the main bodies of the dress. The front and the back piece of the dress is placed on each other, wrong sides facing each other. So I'm going to look for the part of the sleeves that has the armhole, and I'm going to place it on the armhole area of the dress, right sides facing each other, and I'll go ahead and pin. After pinning the sleeves, I went ahead to sew them in place, and I turned my fabric to the wrong side. So what I'll do now is to sew. So I'll use my basic bodice measurement to join the half length. I'll use a bust point. I'll place a bust point on the bust area of this dress and a waist measurement on the waist area of this dress. I'm going to sew and stop at the waist line. So I've gone ahead to do that. Open the dress up like this, and you can see that the only place I've not sewn is from the waistline to the dress length. So it's time for us to make our ruffles on this dress. So I have another fabric, and the length of this fabric is 10 inches. You must not make yours as wide as mine. It's because I had enough fabric, that's why I made the length 10 inches, and the wideness is 2 yards. So if you have enough fabric and you want your ruffles to be very full, you can increase it, but for me, I'm using 2 yards for this. So I'm going to place the fabric on the front part of this dress, right sides facing each other. I've already gone ahead to hem the sides of the fabric, as you can see. So I'm going to place it on the waistline like this. If you don't understand, just look at what I am doing. I've already gone ahead to hem all sides except the side that I'm pinning to the side of this skirt, and I'm pinning this to the front part of this dress. So I'll go ahead and pleat like this. So if you don't want to pleat, you can gather before you pin to your skirt. It depends on what you want. You can work your way around this, but I'll just go ahead and make my gather. Take your time to do this, and it's really going to come out fine. I'll gather on this end, and I'll also go ahead and gather the other one on the other end. So I have 2 pieces for this fabric. Like I said before, the length is 10 inches and the wideness is 2 yards. So as you can see, I've gathered the fabric to the 2 sides of the skirt part of this dress, and I left 2 inches on the base so I can use it to hem the base of the skirt. So I'm going to cover it up with the back piece like this, and I'll use a measurement to close the sides. So on the hip line, I'm going to place a hip measurement divided by 4, and I'll sew all the way to the end of the skirt. After doing that, I'm going to turn it inside out for you guys to see what it looks like on the right side. So I've gone ahead to turn it inside out, and this is what the dress looks like on the right side. So the last thing I'm going to do is to close my slit and hem the base of this dress. So I don't want to stitch it around. I want to use my hemming gum to finish this up so that everything will look neat. So I'm going to just open up the slit like this. I have 1 inch on the slit part. I'm going to place my hemming gum inside the slit on the wrong side, and I'm going to iron it in place. So if you don't know how to do it, just look at what I'm doing. This is just how to do it. After placing it inside, you are just going to use your hot iron to iron it down, and it's going to stick to your fabric. I'll also do the same thing for the base of this skirt because I don't want to stitch down. I just want everything to come out really neat. So yeah, that's all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Please don't forget to like, subscribe if you are not a subscriber. To see you guys in the next one.